He only know like 2 villains. So.
Maybe Venom
Wow.
one day.
Whoa.
Good choice.
Whoa.
Good call. Smart.
Yeah, I think Venom would
Smart.
be really
Good call.
cool.
Venom.
Who are you in this vast multiverse?
We are Venom.
Who are you in this vast multiverse? So we need to talk about Spider-Man Far From Home, the third Spider-Man film, and what's happening between these 2 Avengers films. So if you're finding me for the first time, be sure to subscribe to get all the Marvel videos. We're just getting started. There's a new round of that Infinity War Blu-ray giveaway going on. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. I'll be sure to name a winner at the end of this. But you all probably know by now that Far From Home is going to be a globe-hopping adventure. Mysterio is going to be the main villain. They're still trying to lock down Jake Gyllenhaal. Mysterio is the character. Jake Gyllenhaal is just the one thing that they haven't confirmed yet. Kevin Feige is like, we're working on it. We're almost there. They don't need him to start shooting the movie. There's so many different things that you could shoot with just a couple of the characters.
Hey guys, just want to say thank you for coming today. I wish I could come out and see you, but I'm not allowed. But thank you so much for coming. You guys are amazing, just hanging out in the sun.
But as you've seen from all the funny Kevin Feige interviews with Amy Pascal, Venom is supposed to exist over by itself in the Sony Spider-Verse adjacent to the MCU. Based on Kevin Feige's reaction, and I'll include that clip in a second, it seems like he doesn't want to deal with Spider-Verse stuff right now while they're closing down this first big era of Marvel films.
Well, those movies will all take place in the world that we are now creating for Peter Parker. I mean, there'll be adjuncts to it. They may be different locations, but it will still all be in the same world, and they will be connected to each other as well.
So there is a chance that Tom Holland as Spider-Man will pop up somewhere over there? There's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
If you ever want to see what Kevin Feige looks like when he gets triggered, that's it. So assuming that Venom is meant to be in a separate universe and that the Sony spin-off films, like they just announced the Silk film, for instance, there's a Silk character in Spider-Man Homecoming. Cindy Moon is even supposed to be on the bus here in this Infinity War scene. It's just that the way they shoot it from this angle, you can't see all the people that are actually sitting on the bus. So if they're going to do a Silk movie and they already have a character in the MCU, I think that's more evidence that it's supposed to be a separate universe. But what are they doing with the animated film right now? They're literally doing Into the Spider-Verse with all the different versions of Peter Parker as well as the different versions of Spider-Man or Spider-Gwen in the instance of Gwen Stacy. So like you have multiple Peter Parkers, but you also have the other versions of Spider-Man popping up. They'll be taking that film to Comic-Con. I'll do a video about it when they post a new trailer, but we'll learn more about what's going on with that soon. Obviously, the animated films are not in the same continuity as the live-action films. So the easiest way to do Venom crossover with Spider-Man in a future film is to do a version of live-action Spider-Verse. But what Kevin Feige and the MCU has been doing is cultivating the Sinister Six's characters, slowly building up towards a bigger and bigger film by the time you get to whatever the third Spider-Man film is going to be. We know it'll probably have home in the title because you do Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home. You could start guessing what the title of the third film is going to be, but because we haven't had Norman Osborn yet, and Mysterio is supposed to be the big villain of Spider-Man 2, it just sounds like we're building towards big Sinister Six team-up in that third film. So short term, that's why I think that they're just letting Venom off to do his own thing. So in success, Tom Hardy will continue to play the character, they'll do a sequel, they'll do crossovers with the Morbius film that Jared Leto is going to be in. That's right, Jared Leto is going to be Morbius the vampire for Sony's Spider-Verse. Then you can push into the idea of the actual Spider-Verse. Have Tom Holland in a much simpler way just cross over into different dimensions without doing full-blown Inheritors Morlun Spider-Verse. So if you're not a big comic book reader, Spider-Verse is a very messy story. It's this big saga about Morlun stealing the power from totems, and it's sort of a different way of explaining how Spider-Man's powers work. Probably not something that Kevin Feige wants to deal with, because it gets to this Infinity War level of craziness, and they just did that, so they probably don't want to do that with the Spider-Man character within the MCU, but they're content to let the animated films get as crazy as they want. So live-action Spider-Verse would have to be a much simpler version. They probably wouldn't do Morlun. They would probably stick with the Sinister Six because that's what they're building towards. So it just becomes a much easier way to explain, watching that Venom trailer, how the symbiotes get to planet Earth and how you can do all these derivative Spider-Man characters without having Tom Holland be a main character in all the films. You could just tell whatever backstory that you want, but just like that Doctor Strange clip, just like we've seen in Infinity War, Doctor Strange looking through different timelines, Avengers 4 and the rumors about them going between different dimensions to alternate universes to get the gems and assemble the gauntlet that way. Just on a conceptual level, think about the way Marvel deals with big concepts like that and how they would handle a version of the Spider-Verse. You tease the idea of a multiverse in a Doctor Strange movie, then you deep dive into that during Infinity War and Avengers 4. Then once everybody on the planet watches those movies, they understand the concept of alternate versions of the characters existing in alternate realities. So it's much easier for them to buy a Spider-Verse movie where you see characters from alternate dimensions. So it becomes much easier to explain how Venom appears in a Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, but you've never seen him before in this reality. Like, how come we haven't seen him before? Oh, alternate universe, bam, that's how you do it. But what about timeline? When would they actually be able to do something like that? Because I'm pretty sure that we're not going to see any kind of Venom in Spider-Man Far From Home, and we're not going to see symbiote with Tom Holland in Avengers 4. Maybe a couple references. That will merit more videos later when we get more information about the actual plot of Avengers 4. So just open up a bookmark for that. Right now, I think all evidence points towards no symbiote in Avengers 4. We get Spider-Man 2 next year, that's 2019. Then 2 years after that, we get the next Spider-Man film, whatever number 3 is going to be called. Then by the time Marvel and Sony rework whatever their new sharing arrangement is going to be, they talk about potential crossover with the Spider-Verse, and that's where you get to your Venom crossover. So it would be at least 5 or 6 years away. So all of that is just built on success. So if the Venom movie does well, people like it, Tom Hardy will come back and do a sequel, and Kevin Feige will probably be more open to allowing that character within the MCU. If it's not successful, Sony doesn't make a sequel, Kevin Feige never has to think about him again. So he's like, okay, maybe someday we'll get to Venom, and that someday just turns into 10 or 12 years. I think Marvel has spent so much time cultivating the universe that it has now, and it's getting ready to break that and reform it in Avengers 4, that I don't think that they want to deal with Sony's Spider-Verse anytime soon. Like, it's already complicated enough. It's a lot easier for someone like Kevin Feige that controls all the money to take the wait-and-see approach. Oh, it's successful. Okay, people like this character. We'll let him cross over with our beloved Spider-Man. But just remember, I think all that will come after we get a version of the Sinister Six within the MCU. And I don't think that that's going to happen till the third Spider-Man film. I think Mysterio and Spider-Man Far From Home is just the next step on the ladder to Sinister Six. Like, they're slowly ramping up towards Norman Osborn Green Goblin. Most of what we know of Sony's version of Venom is that he's a little bit Lethal Protector, a little bit Planet of the Symbiotes, and it's a little bit Agent Venom, but with the Eddie Brock character instead of Flash Thompson. And even though we have Miles Morales in the cartoons, for those of you asking about him in the MCU, I'm not expecting him during Far From Home either. Maybe they'll tease him, but not as Spider-Man during the third Spider-Man film. Just to be determined. I'll do more videos if we get more information about that. Leave all your video requests in the comments below. Congratulations to Omar Z. Please private message me so I can get your contact details. Click here to rewatch that funny Spider-Man 2 teaser, and click here to learn all about the Avengers 4 title. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.